All right, what's up to the ASL family? Thanks for joining us. This is Asian Spirit Love Podcast. And of course, any cultural background is welcome, whether you're Black, White, Latino, Middle Eastern, or etc. Please join us on this podcast. Let's know your opinions and comments. So today we're talking about Asian hate crimes and also having pride for our culture, which unfortunately is a huge issue, especially on social media right now. So I was talking to Eric last night, kind of on a rant, because I was really annoyed how there are a few girls that are Asian talking about how dare people ask them what their cultural background is and how that is something they shouldn't do. And I was like, no, I think that you should be proud of your culture.
So I don't know who needs to hear this, but you guys need to stop asking Asian people what kind of Asian they are or trying to guess their race, because it's very dehumanizing to us and it's infuriating. I deal with this on a weekly basis where people are constantly asking me, oh, what kind of Asian are you? Are you Filipino? Are you Hawaiian? They'll look at me and analyze me and try to guess my race, and it makes me feel so less than, and it is so infuriating. The worst part about it is that I feel like I'm obligated to answer. I get locked in and I shrivel up and I feel like I need to tell them what I am when it means nothing to them. So today at work, a coworker that I work with that isn't even, like, I don't work alongside them every single day, but this man comes into my office and he looks at me and he's talking to me and he comes out of nowhere and goes, so what kind of Filipino are you? Like, what? I said to myself, what the hell does that matter?
Because here's the thing, our parents, most of our parents are immigrants, right? So for us, to know that our parents immigrated to America and struggled a lot to get here. My parents sacrificed a lot from Thailand to America, California particularly, and to know all struggles they went through and to be like, oh yeah, well, I don't want to tell you my culture. That's so shameful to me. Not only shameful, but also really ignorant, and I feel like it leads to a lot of issues with, again, self-hatred, because I'm a huge, proud Thai American. I love being Thai American. I love my culture. I love what Thai culture represents. I am born here in America, so I'm American as well. But being Thai American should not be something that's an issue to announce. So I'm really annoyed that there's this whole entire movement towards shaming people for announcing their culture. And we've had this before. I think that in the early 2000s, we had so many people say, I'm not Asian, I'm American. And here's the problem with that. Again, our parents spent so much time, so much effort, immigrating to America to create a better life for themselves and also a better life for their kids, which is us, and to say, oh, we're not Asian anymore, we're just American. It's horrible, because here's the thing. When we think about just American, I'm not going to lie, we just think of Caucasian people.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to announce that you are Asian, okay? Because those are our cultural roots. That's what our parents brought up with, that's who our parents are. So, again, there's also different types of Asians. So when someone asks this person, what type of Asian are you? What's your cultural background? Asia is not just Chinese. Asia is Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Thai, Mongolian, Laos. There's so many things, and etc., right? So having someone ask you what cultural background you come from as an Asian person, I think that's a fine thing to do. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think where this girl is coming from is that she thinks that they're fetishizing her, or Asians in general.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was her main rant, that they're fetishizing. But I think in most cases, they're not necessarily doing it in a sexual way. They're just showing interest. So if I say I'm Chinese, maybe they know something about Chinese culture and they'll talk to me about that. They're trying to find some common ground. Yeah. So if someone is Japanese, oh yeah, I love Japanese culture. Maybe they might say something stereotypical. Oh, I love anime, or I love sushi.
I do love anime though. I'm not gonna lie. If you tell me like, oh, do you like anime? I'll be like, yeah. Now, if they said like, you have to like anime, that'd be one thing. But if they ask me if I like anime, like, hell yeah, I fucking love anime. Yeah, Slayer all the way, Inuyasha.
Yeah, so it could be a way of just like trying to, they have a stereotype of certain ethnicities, and they're trying to pigeonhole you in that stereotype, but also it's also maybe a bit endearing because they're trying to get to know you. So they are trying to find a common ground.
I'm not gonna lie.
Right?
This is why I say it's so important to diversify your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the reason why. Because, I used to live in New York, and I loved living there in Queens. And whenever I asked someone what their cultural background was, and they asked me all the time as well, they'd say I'm a proud Nigerian man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Malaysian. I'm Ecuadorian. There's so many people that are proud of their culture. For us as Asian people, especially during this crisis right now with Asian hate crimes, I think it's really disrespectful, and self-hating to say, I don't want to talk about my cultural heritage. I think that's really shameful because it's crazy. Again, I just want to say this really quickly. Fetishizing, I understand. Okay, if you're fetishizing someone, I'm not cool with that. If you're assuming what they are, because she did talk about, they just assume that I'm Filipino, I understand, but let's be real. Also, API people always assume what you are. It's not just white people. So we're going to say that only white men do this. That's not true. Asian people assume who they are. Like, every time I go outside, especially living here in the Bay Area, people automatically assume that I'm just Filipino. Like, they'll start speaking Tagalog to me no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not offended.
Any darker skinned Asian would be considered Filipino. Right?
Yeah, like, I'm not offended, but also I'm also like, I'm not Filipino. I'm Thai. And I have no problem saying that. And again, we have to realize that our own community does it all the time. More so than any other community. But I definitely don't agree with assuming. I think they should just ask. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking, what's your cultural background? Because again, if you are proud and you love your cultural background, you shouldn't have any problem saying it.
Well, I think if in your example, 9 times out of 10, they see a darker skinned Asian and they assume he's Filipino, they'd probably be right. So just based on statistics, maybe there's that one chance, I ran into the guy who's not Filipino, but most of the time they'd be correct. So just like it's like wherever neighborhood you hang out in, right? So if, say I'm in San Jose, Story Road, I'm just hanging out at the mall.
That's Vietnamese for sure.
Yeah, so people would think I'm Vietnamese.
I fucking love Vietnam Town.
Yeah,
that's my jam.
Exactly.
Right there.
So I can't be all offended. Oh, I'm not Vietnamese. Well, I'm hanging out in this Vietnamese area, so they automatically assume that I am. So I guess in that regard, it's not on them to think that you're anything else. They wouldn't have to second guess. It's kind of already given. Not a given.
I mean,
I
honestly just think that you should just ask. Asking is just the easiest way. But again, the one problem I had with her rant was that she was talking about how it was shameful to ask, which I think is super, again, disrespectful in so many ways and self-hating. And again, this is the time for us to be proud to be Asian. For us to be proud to be Asian Pacific Islanders, right? Because here's the deal, it's not just Eastern Asians that are facing this. I am Southeast Asian, I am Thai, and I feel like a lot of times when we think of Asian, we only think of Eastern Asians, such as Chinese, which is my good friend here, Eric, and we think of
Japanese, Korean.
Japanese, Korean, also Pacific Islander, which is Filipino, as darker Asians, but there's a whole entire layer of Southeast Asians that are darker, right? They have larger eyes, maybe more full lips, things like that. Eastern Asians can have it as well, but these are predominant features of Southeast Asians. And I feel like you go from China and Japan, Korea, straight to the Philippines, but there's no in between, And I feel like that's the problem with a lot of people. They don't understand Southeast Asians. Again, that's Thai, Laos, Cambodian.
It's based on demographics, but especially where we live, California, as you alluded to, there aren't as many Southeast Asians.
You just have the restaurants for some reason. We just have all these Thai. My Filipino friend is so funny. I love him so much. He's like, I don't understand. How do we have so many people? Which I'm like, that's great, right? But then you have so many restaurants. You have more restaurants.
Yeah. Well,
you have way more restaurants than we do.
There was that article that I found that talked about how the Thai government sponsors Thai restaurants here in the U.S. to promote the country. So
that's fucking good because there's no other way people know about us besides. That's all they know. They're like, oh, you're that Thai tea pot Thai guy. I'm like, yeah,
bad Thai guy.
The food's fucking bomb though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Even if they put money towards the promotion, at the same time, our food's fucking damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, so that promotes goodwill. Like if people,
even without the promotion, I feel like people would still like, because I still meet people to this day that are like, I love fucking Thai food.
yeah, like so say if they opened a Thai restaurant in Podunk, USA, where there's nothing but
Podunk.
I don't want to say an example, just some random small town in the middle of nowhere, USA. They have no exposure to any Asian culture, but there's a Thai restaurant there, and they go there to eat. Like, man, this is good. So they have a good impression of Thai people, Thai culture, and they might want to take a vacation there. So that's
they do.
the whole idea.
Thailand's
So,
actually, it's considered the Hawaii of Asia.
yeah.
So it's a really great place to visit. I love my culture. I feel like we should all love our culture. That's the
Of
thing
course.
is that's why I'm really annoyed by these rants, because again, it goes back to, and I want you guys here. Here's the thing. We know that these influencers posted this, okay? So go back and find these influencers who posted this and put a light on it, because a lot of times on TikTok, especially in social media, so many Asian influencers are saying these self-hatred comments like, oh, I'm not Asian, I'm American. Listen, you are Asian American. We have to be proud of our culture. So when you shame people for asking what your cultural background is, that is a huge no-no for me. Again, no assumptions, no fetishizing, but just asking should not be an issue. And if you're proud, you should not have an issue with that, which a lot of people do. You know,
But
a lot of people are proud.
I think, not to defend her, but I think what she is trying to get at is that I'm American. It doesn't matter what my ancestry is, because people view Asians as perpetual foreigners, as they would say, like how even
so
if
you say you're Asian American. You know, I'm sorry. I don't have any. Sorry, bitch. No. Like, it's just like, ooh, I said a bad word.
like even,
but yeah, no, I don't like that. No, like, I'm sorry. Like, I am firm on the fact that I don't like the type of situation that we're creating now, which is the shaming ourselves. Okay. We need to understand that yes, we are American because we are born here, but our parents are immigrants, and letting go of that heritage is so disrespectful, and also just so bad for us as a community, you know, because they're never gonna see us as Caucasian. You know, that's why there's Asian hate crimes. I'm gonna read a stat real quickly on this one.
well, yeah, let me finish my thought.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I was saying that you know how even if our ancestors were born here, our family's been here for hundreds of years. We walk down the street, people ask us if we speak English. So that's kind of what the point that people are getting.
Yeah,
that we're still Americans, even though they don't look at us as American. We didn't hop fresh off the boat, and even if we did, it shouldn't be any different either. So that's what they're trying to say.
With that, I'm sorry, that should not condone you just saying that you are only American. I agree with you. Okay, sorry, I didn't get mad at you. I love Eric. I got mad at that girl. You know, so I just want to say, because I love Eric so much, like I'm not against him anyway. I saw that. It got me so, I was super heated last night. I was so heated because again, we are doing this wave, this huge wave of this self-hating Asianness, right? I don't like that. We had that in the 2000s with the whole entire I'm not Asian American. That's so stupid to me. You are Asian American. You are Pacific Islander American. You are API American. This is so important that we know this, that we are proud of this. Because, again, I see everything, because my mom, especially my grandmother, because I am 1/4 Chinese, and my grandmother, she actually escaped from China during the war. And she went through so much. And then she raised parents also who came here from Thailand. I just really get annoyed so much with like this self-hatred language that some TikTokers are using, right? And there's a lot of TikTokers that are proud to be Asian, and I encourage that. I support that. So I'll read this quick stat on this one really quickly, and I want to hear your opinion on this.
Okay.
So with anti-Asian hate crimes, it's actually increased by 339% nationwide last year. You know, and this is a stat in 2002 by NBCnews.com. San Francisco, which is very close to us, we don't live in San Francisco because we don't want to pay all those rent prices. But like San Francisco alone also experienced an alarming jump from 9 to 60 crimes, a 567% increase. Okay, and Los Angeles had a similar sizable hike of 173%. What do you think about that? That's crazy, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a couple of factors. I think it is, like, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, people, falsely accused Chinese, Asian people of the cause of the virus, and and then also these days, people. I think it's also the influence of movies like Crazy Rich Asians that people think all Asians are rich, and even just a random one on the street walking, they probably have money in their bag and they're just carrying loads of cash all the time. So what do people do? They pick the weakest elderly person that they know won't fight back.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's inexcusable, right? Like, I'm not saying, I'm not pinpointing any certain groups that are doing it, but it's happening across the board. And it's just, if people want to pick a fight, you pick someone your own size. Don't pick an elderly lady who obviously has no capacity to fight back or to defend herself.
That's so weak to me too. I feel like if you're doing that, you're doing that because you know that you are not strong enough to fight someone who is of your age, who is of your size. And regardless, I just think it's so disgusting you're even attacking these people, to be honest.
Yeah, even if they have money, like, so what? You let them be. Like, well, it's not yours. Like, what are you trying to,
what does that prove? What does that help?
It's, are you big and tough now that you robbed an old lady?
Yeah.
And then,
well, I know that ever since then, especially since like last year, they've been going younger and younger with the attacks.
Yeah.
They still attack elderly people. But, they've been verbal harassment towards Asian kids, young Asian women. One of my friends here, his family was they weren't physically attacked, thankfully, but they were verbally attacked. And I feel like it's really important that we acknowledge that it is getting younger nowadays. But regardless, it's still a problem.
Yeah, like just the other day at 99 Ranch, I think maybe a 30-ish or 40-something-year-old couple got attacked for their watch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not victim blaming, of course, but it's wise these days not to floss anything. Don't wear a nice watch. Don't, drive a nice car. Just pretend that you don't have money. Obviously, if you have money, you like to enjoy the fruits of your labor. That's great. Yeah. But, you don't want to be showing off. Like, one thing I always remember is, if you have a nice sound system in your car, don't go blasting music at the mall or whatever, rolling around, cruising around, because everyone will know you have a nice system. And then once you go inside, you come out, you might be, you might get raided. So definitely just stuff like that. But of course, I'm not victim blaming. Nobody should be attacked on the street whatsoever. And it's just unfortunate that...
I mean, it's sad because especially if you're Asian, you have to watch out even more nowadays.
Yeah.
And I know that, the one thing I want to say is that we still have privileges over certain cultures, like African American, stuff like that. They're obviously attacked a lot more. But at the same time, like, if knowing this is happening right now, you have to watch out. You should take the precautions. And don't floss right now at this moment. I'm sorry. I'm not really big on flossing either way anyways. Like, I'm not trying to carry a Gucci bag or anything like that. I know some people do. But I've never been about that life. But I definitely think that right now we have to be more careful than ever.
Yeah, and I think it's once again, I'm not going to bring up specific groups, but the lawmakers seem to favor certain groups by allowing them to get away with things, and because they've been deemed as marginalized by society, and Asian people are thought to be white adjacent, and they think, oh, Asian people, they're all rich, they have privileges, and we're not afforded those same benefits, even though we are a minority also. So white people don't think of us as the same level as them, but
we used to think that, though. That's the problem, and that's why I'm such a huge person on us showing pride for our culture. Because again, with this situation, she's basically talking to us about saying you shouldn't be proud to be Asian, and we should announce our culture. And again, Asia is more than one country, right? Like, we are Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, China. We were so many things. So if someone calls me Asian, I'm like, yeah, I am actually Thai, American, not just
I don't know what she's crying
everything.
About. Like, is that something to cry over? It's just so weird. I don't get the.
And I want to apologize to Eric because I felt like I was intense earlier, and like
no, just let it out. Whatever you have in your mind, and you notice it's also only women who say that. Like, I'm not vilifying women. I'm just an observation. But it's only women who would say, oh, why they ask my ethnicity? I've never heard an Asian guy complain that somebody asked what his ethnicity is. Unless it's very rude, of course. If they say, hey, man, what are you? Like, obviously, that's not very respectful. But if someone said, Hey, you have an interesting looking background. What do you mind me asking what
Yeah.
ethnicity you are? Would you be offended by that?
Hell,
No,
fucking
exactly,
no. Like,
right?
well, here's the thing. Again,
It's like-
I'm proud to be a Thai American man, and everyone should be proud to be their culture, whatever you are, Hmong, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese. We have to understand that this is important. I think that she's doing this because she's confusing it. I think that some people, not all people, some people have this sense of false empowerment, where they feel like if they have to, or if someone's asking what their cultural background is, they're going to instantly think that's just fetishizing. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
always fetishizing. I just want to say that first and foremost. And if it is fetishizing, I don't agree with it. But at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong. And I know there's nothing wrong. Not only I think, I know there's nothing wrong with asking your cultural background. And I want to know, because like, I would have you understand where I'm coming from, that I'm Thai, as opposed to assuming I'm one type of person when I'm not.
Yeah. It's actually better. So say if they are fetishizing, right? So say it's a Chinese girl, and this person who's not Chinese ask her, well, first two scenarios. One, if he actually does ask her and say, "What's your ethnicity?" and she says she's Chinese, and then he says, "Oh, ni hao." Then he actually says something. I mean, it's very stereotypical, but at least he said something in Chinese.
Yeah.
But say he didn't ask her at all and walked up to her, "Konnichiwa," then
Yeah,
that would be even more offensive, right?
That's
So-
super offensive. That's
so-
what I'm saying. It leads to a lot of issues of stereotyping. If you get, this is also the problem. Is like education is so important, especially for me. Like even for this podcast, like Eric's like, "Are you looking up stats?" I'm like, "Yes, I am," because I
Do your homework.
I really believe in education and putting it out there, and also education about our cultural backgrounds. Is so important.
Yeah.
Like, especially my friends. Like, my friend has taught me so much about Nigerian culture, and I really love that and I appreciate it, because you also learn about what are signs of respect in Nigerian culture. How do you go about announcing yourself, portraying yourself within a household? I feel like that's so important. And when we don't announce our culture, a lot of times people just automatically make stereotypes and assume.
Yeah.
So I think that to bash stereotypes, we should announce our culture.
Well, and on the flip side, also, it's like we shouldn't care what they think anyway. So maybe if they have some impression of us, and it doesn't really affect me, then they can think what they want. It doesn't really bother me unless they're doing something to me personally. So if they just see me on the street, they think some sort of way about me. But I just go on with my day. I don't really care.
No,
what they think.
I'm sorry. I am a Thai man.
Yeah.
With well-seasoned food. I want you to season your food when I come over.
Yeah.
I don't want just like because I went to my friend's house, right? And he was my best friend in middle school. And his parents served me vegetables, and they were like the worst vegetables in the world. They were canned vegetables that they boiled in water, then put on a plate for me. And I was like, as a Thai person, we do the most with vegetables. We saute some chilies, some lemongrass, some garlic. We stir fry it in with all types of seasonings. We do it in curry paste. Our vegetables are fresh because they're fresh in the farm, and they're also cooked really well. And for someone to send me like these damp, overcooked vegetables,
Oh, man.
I was like, see, if you knew I was a Thai man, you knew this would be unacceptable. Know about my culture and know that we season food.
But why did they serve you that to begin with? Like, why didn't they just give you whatever they were eating?
That's what they were eating. Some fucking,
They were. So that's part of their normal.
That's their normal food. It's just some
okay.
boiled chicken. I wasn't vegan. I'm vegan now, but I wasn't vegan at the time. Some boiled chicken and some boiled vegetables from a can.
Well, at least they were giving you what they eat. So it's not like they specially made that for you. Like,
Well, I told them if I was Thai and how much we season things, they would have maybe changed. I'm
what
sorry.
what ethnicity were they?
Caucasian.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I love my Caucasian allies, by the way, just letting you guys all know, I'm not here to bash, I'm here to support. But the thing is that I really want people to know that, there's nothing wrong with being Caucasian, especially a Caucasian ally, right? But if you're Asian, don't be ashamed of your fucking culture. It's just so annoying to me. And again, like I said before, we have a history of this. I think whitewashing in America, especially, is a big problem. Even in Thailand, and the Philippines and China. I know skin lightening paste is such a huge thing. and wanting to have those Europeanized features is so important to a lot of people.
Well, just like the eyelid surgery.
Yeah. And again, the eyelid surgery actually started because in Korea, what was happening is that the Western military came to Korea, and they're like, we don't trust these guys because they have slanted eyes, which means that they they're thinking about things, they're trying to manipulate things. They look sneaky. Those are sneaky eyes. Those slanted eyes are sneaky eyes. So then what happened is that the Koreans were like, they keep on calling us sneaky, you don't trust us. So in order for them to trust us more, they got eyelid surgery to make their eyes bigger. Now, when they did that, the problem was that people were like, wow, that looks so much better on you. We all want that now. It actually doesn't look better on them. They just considered that if your eyes were bigger, you were more trustworthy. If your eyes were slantier or smaller, your eyes were more manipulative and sneaky. So that's, again, a perspective that we got from like this very westernized or Europeanized perspective of what is beautiful.
Yeah, I think Asians, like, naturally, maybe, at least East Asians, maybe 20% or less have natural double eyelids. So like mine are naturally double. I mean, my eyes aren't huge, but I do have double eyelids, which is kind of...
I want that. Yeah. I would love, especially in Japan, I saw these guys like just really beautiful slanted eyes. Just go, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want that. Like, I just want to date a guy like that. Like their eyes were just like all the way over here, and they were like this beautiful slants, and I thought it was just so... I'm a huge guy on slanted eyes. Like if you have slanted eyes, I am all down for that.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like I like women with big eyes. I don't know if it's a Western preference, but I always had a thing for big eyes. Maybe because my mom had really big eyes, so I always say that's always been my preference.
Not me. The slantier, the better. Get at me. I'm single.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess yeah. So you have more preference for the more traditional East Asian look with the eyes and the...
I mean, I just think that...
Like the cheekbones probably
for
higher.
me, especially like, when you go to Thailand, what's interesting is that, like, even for me, like, I'm way lighter than the normal Thai person. Because, like, when I was younger, I took this medication. I'm going to say it because I don't get sued. But, like, I took this medication for my acne. And it did help my acne. But the problem is that it actually burned my skin from the inside out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was...
Like
my
bleach?
mom was horrified. Like, my skin was actually bubbling.
Wow.
And we had to put on creams and stuff like that. And by the time that it finished burning my skin, I was like at least 5 shades lighter. So I'm supposed to be like 5 shades darker than this, actually. So it's a really big difference. But like normal type people, outside of just like Bangkok and stuff like that, we're a lot darker because we're near the equator, right? Yeah. And if you go to like especially southern Thailand, where they, especially for those people, they can't really afford a lot of skin creams, their skin's way darker than most people.
It's really hot there.
Yeah,
it's tropical, and
they are gorgeous. I'm like, I just want a Pokemon catch everyone. Just throw and catch me a Thai guy from the south.
like throw out those fishing nets.
Oh yeah, it sounds horrible. Like but yeah, no. At least Pokemon catch one of them. If you're single, again, what's up? Well, I'm like trying to get myself, trying to be my own wingman. Like, come on, get them. Good, sorry.
Yeah, you're like Sub-Zero, not Sub-Zero.
I'm
Scorpion.
Like, Get over here. I'm boy crazy right now. Forgive me.
No, I was saying also since you grew up here and it's not as hot, that also affects your skin.
Yeah, I think that probably played a role in it as well. I think that, especially with my height too, especially, being more of an Americanized Asian. And we did actually just post before, so we did podcasts on FOBs.
Yeah.
And, the thing is that, like, I just really also think part of the issue with America and being API, Asian Pacific Islander, is that we are kind of taught within our community to hate other Asians or Pacific Islanders. This whole entire thing, like, oh, you're a fob. How come you don't like connect with all the other Asians or Pacific Islanders? Like, we make fun of them. Like, I think a lot of the hate, unfortunately, also comes from other Asian Pacific Islander people putting hate on other Asian Pacific Islander people.
Well, because there's history, Americanized, so especially from war and. I won't get into details, but we all know the history of the warring countries. So certain countries don't like other countries, but once you come here, where there are less of us, we're all in a boat together, right? So, say in elementary school, there's a Vietnamese guy and a Chinese guy, a Korean and Japanese. Like they're the only Asian kids in the school, so it doesn't matter what their history back in the motherland was. they have more connection than they do with the other people at the school, so they become friends. So it's kind of like that, where we're all Asian now, Asian American. We have more in common. We all use chopsticks. We all have similar food. We eat rice, things like that. We still have those Confucian values from the old ways from East Asia. So that way we have more connection than the. Of course, we still have connection with.
Again, like it doesn't like the whole entire aspect. Like I know that there's going to be issue with API people here and API people who just immigrated from the Philippines, Taiwan, China, whatever. But the thing is that what I don't like is a shaming. You know? That's like calling them fobs, calling them fresh off the boat,
of course,
like disgracing them, calling them stupid or ugly because they're not. That's what I don't like, which a lot of our community does, and we have to stop doing that.
But I think that's the old ways, because nowadays the people straight from Asia are way richer than any of us here. Like, look at these.
I'm not talking about the wealth. I'm talking about the shaming.
Yeah, but see, why would we shame them when they're doing better than we are? Like, why would I or anyone cap on this guy driving a Ferrari as a fob when
haters
they're
gonna hate,
right? So
haters gonna hate.
Because in the old days, the fobs were poor, right? They didn't have education. They were fresh off the boat. Nowadays, like these parachute kids, they're like,
but not
10
all
times richer than us.
Are rich like that.
Yeah, of course.
Watch a video on that one.
Yeah.
Just like not all Asians are rich, which to be honest, I wish we were. Like I wouldn't mind being rich. Like we were.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah. Like I was like we were not. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We didn't like my parents, like especially my mom. She started working the flea market. My dad was a dishwasher in the hotel. Like it was not a great. Like we weren't wealthy in any type of way. And I don't regret that, but it's just definitely a situation where it's like, I think we have to stereotypes that all Asians are rich, all immigrants are rich, which is not true. But some are, which is totally honest.
Well, I think the ones who are, they just floss it so much that people get the impression that everyone is like that. Because they kind of do it in excess. It's overblown, like Crazy Rich Asians. It's just, it's to the point where it's just showing off. It's not normal. It's not something that regular people even need or want.
Yeah.
Because they have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. Yeah. So that can be off-putting to some people. They're like, screw them. Then they kind of resent them. So that can also lead to, once again, it's not condoned, but people could attack people thinking, oh, these rich punks, right? So, and another thing I noticed, like, how we talk about the Asian communities getting along. So I think there are different levels of some groups where the American-borns and the immigrants, how well they get along. So in some Asian countries, I'll use Koreans, for example. So I noticed a lot of the American-born Koreans and the ones who are more immigrants, they actually get along pretty well. Yeah. So they don't mind that, who's American-born, who is just fresh off the boat, because I think the common denominator is usually the church. For Chinese, which is my culture, I think we're kind of in between. Like we don't, we do have separate groups. Some of them mingle with each other. Like I fancy myself as a kind of a wannabe fob. So I do hang out with a lot of Hong Kong people. I go to.
I love fobs.
Yeah,
I'm clear as day about that because like especially with my best friend, and that's why I say like it's just really annoying how people hate on fobs so much because literally when I was in Japan, my best friend name is Hiroki, and I've been him in Osaka, and he has done more for me than most friends I've known for years. We talk every week and stuff like that. So like I think it's really annoying when we just hate on them for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, I never have. So
I think it's great because like we learn how to understand different values, different cultures. I think we should try learning as opposed to just I don't know what you say, like putting down.
Especially if it's your own culture. So some countries, the ones who are American-born, they barely speak their native language, and the ones who come over here from the motherland, they don't have much in common with them because they're so Americanized. Yeah. So I don't, I don't condone that. Obviously, you can do whatever you want, but for me, I'd want to learn as much as my native culture as I can, speak the language, eat the food, and just be proud of it.
Yeah.
So
and we're all like especially for Americanized Asians, you're not gonna know the language right off the bat. There's no shame.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely not trying to shame people because I myself like my Thai still needs work, a lot of work to be honest. I want to be more Thai people. Again, what's up? Like, just constantly hitting on people, constantly hitting on an audience. But like I would love to meet more Thai people and like learn more. but that's a journey. I think that we should all learn about both cultures. Like we're Americanized. We live here in the States. Great. But we should also learn more about our cultural roots and how that applies to us. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's we can never be 100% of either side. So we're not viewed as 100% American, and we're not viewed as 100% of whatever ethnicity our ancestors are. So we're kind of on the fence on both sides.
I'm going to tell you for sure,
Yeah.
when I go to Thailand, and I will speak, I think at one point I was pretty good. So I would speak fluent Thai to another Thai person, and it doesn't matter. They'll be like, I cannot understand your Thai. I don't know if you're deep American accent. I can tell you're an American. But then you'll have someone who is not Thai.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, what's your deer crap? Sabayar deer. And then they'd be like, oh, your Thai is so good. Look like you're a real Thai person. They just congratulate them, which I think that we're a lot harder. I'm not going to lie. I think we're a lot harder on our own people than we are on other people.
Well, I think it's kind of a source of pride for them that someone from a different culture wants to learn Thai.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just like the example I use, like when I go to a Chinese restaurant. So I'm speaking to them in perfect, well, maybe not perfect, but pretty fluent Chinese.
Yeah.
And they respond to me in their broken English that's worse than my Chinese. So, like, I ordered in Chinese, so you don't have to speak to me in English. I can't even understand what they're saying. So then I talk back in Chinese. They still repeatedly talk to me in English. It's like, hello. I know you understood me, and I can't understand you. So, yeah. So I guess they just already have it in their mind the second I walk in on this Americanized, we call it ABC, like American-born Chinese.
How dare him?
Yeah, so that all of them that they can't speak Chinese, which maybe I don't think I'm an outlier because as an American-born, I do my best to try to speak as much Chinese as possible. But I know a lot of them don't. So maybe they assume I'm just one of those types. Yeah. So I'm probably maybe in the 75%.
I think we have to learn how to support each other. Like I have been watching so many TikToks that are like, oh, I hate how people who are immigrants always get on my case for not knowing full Tagalog, full Thai, full this, full that. I'm like, that we throw hate on them back all the time, right? Like I'm not gonna lie. I feel like people will always gaslight people and just say like their struggles, but they don't realize the struggles we're causing other people as well. So yes, I think that people who are immigrants should be kinder about us trying to learn the language more, and vice versa. We have to be kinder to people who are immigrants from other country.
Yeah,
especially our
it goes
country.
both ways. Mutual respect.
We
on
have
both sides.
to learn how to communicate. Like that's the main thing.
Yeah.
No one's talking about that because everybody just wants to fight on TikTok. So it's like,
yeah, I think a lot of those TikToks and influencers, they're just ranting about something just to rant, just to make some content, just to have something. They call it spews for views. Right, you just rant about some random thing that's not even relevant, and they make it a thing when it's not a thing.
Well, I think the one thing that I want everyone to know is that there's a lot of programming in general.
Yeah.
But especially if you're an influencer on social media, as an Asian person, I want you to know and acknowledge is that the European-based or Western-based standard of beauty is going to apply to you 10 times fold. Right? Because the pressure is going to be on you. So it's so important that we learn how to appreciate that we are beautiful the way we are as Thai people, as Chinese people, as Filipino people, as Korean people, and not spew in the same self-hatred that's brought onto us.
Yeah. But I guess, in a way, since we are living in a Western country, we do kind of have to adapt. We can't just be living, as the way we would back in Asia. So, there are, like, for example, a lot of the recent immigrants get criticized for not trying to blend in. They never try to be a part of the community. They never try to, what's that term? Not, just try to blend in and just live as, say they moved into a subdivision, a community. They don't try to talk to the neighbors. They don't try to, socialize at all. So they can kind of keep to their own bubble, living their life as if they were still back in their own country, and that's frowned upon. So I think in America, like, community is important. People want to have the aspect.
Totally,
of,
100%. But like, what I'm saying is that the beauty of being your culture should, again, you shouldn't escape that. we should learn how to appreciate. But in terms of community, I think that's what I'm saying. It's so important to diversify our friendships and how we can know people. Because again, this is so interesting talking about it as an Asian person because, again, my friends that are Nigerian, my friends that are Ecuadorian, they're like, I'm proud to be Ecuadorian. I'm proud to be Nigerian.
Yeah.
Only within our culture do we have these Asian influencers that are like, oh, it's such a betrayal for someone to ask me what my cultural background is. That's so cruel and injustice and stuff. I'm like, no, it's not. Because guess what? There's something. If you diversify your friendships, you'll know that they're proud to be their culture. So why are you not proud? And by you saying that it's shameful to ask someone what their cultural background is, you are not proud of your culture.
Yeah, and then I think they're probably talking to when the people they're criticizing are probably non-Asians to begin with, because say two Asian people saw each other on the street, we would probably ask them what type of Asian they are because we want to know what type of commonality. So if they happen to be the same as us, then that's great. So we have already a mutual commonality. If they happen to be from a different country, then maybe we have some education or we know something about that country as well, so we could have that thing in common. But I guess from her perspective, she's saying that
When
these
non-Asians
guys
do it.
Yeah, that they don't know anything about Asian culture and they're just like trying to exude some stereotypes.
Well, the one thing that you said earlier that really was important was developing community. You can't develop a community if you're pushing people away that want to know about your culture.
Yeah.
And you're not willing to announce it, right? Like if they're trying to find out, like, oh, like I would love to know more about Chinese culture or Thai culture, and you're all like, no, how dare you? That like they're gonna be halted right away. Like, and I just want people to know, like, again, shameful, shame on you. Kind of self-hating racism too. But secondly, I think that we have to be able to understand that our differences are our strengths. And saying that you're Chinese and you support these different aspects of your culture, I would love for you to put that out there. As you do, as I do within my Thai culture. So we have to stop shutting people off about who we are and start announcing that.
I think she's probably thinking that the person has negative intentions to begin with. So that's why first thing she's kind of mentioning the fetishizing. So she assumed that these random people fetishize her already. So in a way, that's a bit arrogant of her to think.
Not everybody wants you. Sorry, not sorry. Not everybody wants you. Yes, if you're fetishized in moments, that's not cool. I don't agree with fetishizing anyone, to be honest. But, like, let's be real. Not everybody wants you. So you saying in general that people shouldn't ask what their cultural background is, shame on you.
Yeah, so the way that it just seemed a little bit cocky and arrogant in a way that...
Super ignorant.
Yeah, so she's saying that guys... Probably insinuating that guys are hitting on her and asking her that. It's yeah, I don't know. I didn't like the her tone of voice and her attitude. Yeah,
the crying hysterically. Because I do feel like that's the problem. I think that we have to, like, I feel like with this whole entire Amber Heard and Johnny Depp situation, even though it sounds separate, it's very similar in the aspect of, like, I feel like when women or men cry and start acting like they're hurt, we instantly become like Captain Hero. Like, we just want to make Captain Save-A-Ho, man or woman, right? We're just like, oh, I want to save her or him.
I want to be saved.
Yeah, regardless if he's wrong or she's wrong. And that's the problem, is that, like, with the Amber Heard situation, like, we understood from the trial, she was clearly lying. She falsified a lot of information. She said she was going to donate. She never donated. All these different things, right? And then with this situation, because she is crying and being hysterical, right? Which, if you are a victim, I understand. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're not a victim. Like, you are someone that is creating false empowerment through self-hating. It's not cool. It's not cool. And people shouldn't feel that way. So, I definitely think that what she's saying is just leading to more self-hatred. It's leading to a bad thing. And people are following her because they're seeing a woman crying and they want to support her, but don't support lies.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. See, that usually, the people who are over the top dramatic like that, people take their side. So there was even more to, on Johnny Depp's side to prove that he wasn't at fault, because people usually take the women's side. Like, not to sound sexist or anything, but in court of law, a lot of times the women
I don't want
does.
to do all that right now.
Yeah. So
let's not do all that right now.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that if there's a liar, regardless if they're a man or woman, we should call that out. We should not support that. I think we have to have better judgment. We have to have better morality. We have to better understanding of, again, who we are as people, our culture, and respect that. So, you guys, thanks so much for joining us on this ASL Spirit Love podcast, Asian Spirit Love. Thank you for being here, joining us. Leave any comments below of your opinions, your thoughts, your conclusions, as well as make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. And we hope to hear from you guys all soon. Bye, everyone.